Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tolhurst. Welcome to Charlie Tolhurst Show for the 3rd of October, 2021. Yes, we're already in October now. And as you can see by being wearing a fleece today, it is getting to the time of the year where we're having to start wearing thicker clothing. Yes, winter's coming soon, guys. I'm going to be joined by Labour's Party supporter Zach Chambers to round up all the latest news this week. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello.
Hello, Zach. Now, I want to start off the first segment of today's show, which is the hot headlines this week, because I want to start off with some news about the Sarah Everard murder. Of course, earlier in the year, Sarah Everard was murdered and actually assaulted as well by a police officer from the Met Police called Wayne Couzens. However, though, it's been announced just a couple of days ago that the Met Police officer, Wayne Couzens, will spend the rest of his life behind bars after he was found guilty of murdering Sarah Everard. Now, Zach, what do you make of this announcement, and what do you think should happen to the Met Police? Should there be a police reform here in the UK?
Oh, I honestly, Charlie, tell me about it. I mean, it was the only viable option, really, to be fair, Charlie, about what happened. Wayne Cousin is a murderer. He's a rapist. He's an idiot. He's more than an idiot. He's a tool, and he used women as tools, and especially Sarah Everard. I mean, we have policemen and women have a responsibility in a country to keep us safe and keep us from crimes and to help us when needed. This guy used his position of power to abuse women, and he took that consequence from Sarah Everard, and he was given a life sentence. And that could be the only good thing that has come out of this. It was the only right thing. And we've seen since the death of Sarah Everard, Charlie, we've seen an uprising of woman power, and rightly so, because there are many females out there now that are scared, that are worried, that will lose confidence in the police because of this incident. I mean, you look at the vigil, which was held, and the tone-deaf police response that happened there. It really lost, a lot of women lost confidence after that. I know there's been calls for Cressida Dick to resign. I mean, she's had a 2-year contract extension by the Mayor of London and Priti Patel. But nevertheless, Charlie, this should be a moment for women. This should be a moment for the government to support and change how the police system is working. Not defund it, obviously, because that's the last thing that you need to be doing to this in this sort of situation. But what needs to be happening now, and I watched this guest on Sky News saying that all police officers should be re-vetted now as an emergency, and every so often, several months. And I agree with that, with what was said. The idea that, Charlie, that you'd go around, your police colleagues is sharing WhatsApp messages, nicknaming this guy the rapist. Now, for Christ's sake, Charlie, isn't that alarm bell from the opposite when you nicknaming a police officer the rapist? You shouldn't even be the police if you're going to nickname your colleagues the rapist. That is alarm bell for female, not only women out there, but female officers who are going out there. There's been shocking reports as well, Joe, about the amount of police officers taken off duty, suspended, sacked since Sarah Everard's case. I mean, it's not good, Charlie. It's just not good enough. And there needs to be important reforms, I think, now that, fixes this. We need to re-vet police officers. We need to do this sort of thing. If you nickname people such as rapists, you should not be in the police force. Where you're these sort of WhatsApp groups, social media groups, people who are joking, laughing, and egging this on should not even be in the police force and should be stayed away. And if there needs to be better vetting checks, Charlie. I don't know. There's rumours going around that he managed to get by the vetting check despite some previous problems. I mean, that's not even good enough. If that's the case, Charlie. There should be an immediate response, Charlie. The vetting process should be stronger. Everyone should be reevaluated, and they should have their phones checked, their messages, and all that sort of thing. I know it sounds like an intrusion thing and a police state, which obviously is good. That's the irony of me saying that we're policing the police, but it's got to happen, Charlie. It's got to happen. This is a wake up call. this woman needs to have confidence in the police. Women needs to have confidence in the Met Police and all police forces across the UK. I mean, Cressida Dix is prolonged over a scandal. I don't know why she got a 2-year contract. I mean, whether they need to look for
She
someone
should
else.
resign.
Yeah,
My message to Caressa Dick is she should resign. She's handled this so terribly. And I have to say, to people watching right now, I'm live on YouTube and Facebook for the Charlie Tolhurst show tonight. I have to say, the Met Police should be ashamed of themselves for what Wayne Couzens done, because he was a police officer. And I'm going to play a video in a minute to explain exactly how all of this unfolded. But yes, Zach, I think they should be ashamed of themselves. They do honestly need to look at reform.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We obviously that reform involves not defunding, Charlie, but improving the responsibility of police officers, making sure that improve the safety, improve the conditions that police officers have to be in to make sure they're ready for this job, and security. Security. You don't do it by defunding. We put trust in the system. We need better police officers, because obviously the problem is not. The system obviously is not defunding them. We just need better officers, Charlie. We don't want nonsense like Wayne Couzens, Charlie. Let's just say that.
No, it's not ideal, Zach. I agree with you on that issue. And I'm now going to play for you a video from GB News' Home Affairs correspondent, actually former Home Affairs correspondent at Sky News, Mark White, who reports on the Sarah Everard murder and how it unfolded. He calls this, it was the ultimate betrayal. Have a listen to this.
Looking back at the events that led to the murder of Sarah Everard. Caught on the dash cams of a number of passing vehicles, these are chilling. Then suddenly, a side view. It's grainy video, but this is Sarah Everard talking to Wayne Couzens. She's been stopped by a man she should have been able to trust. But Couzens abused his position as a serving Metropolitan Police officer, tricking the 33-year-old into thinking she'd sitting in the back seat of his car a short time later is Sarah, after she'd been handcuffed and placed there by the off-duty officer. Earlier in the evening, she'd been out buying a bottle of wine for a meal with a friend. It was as she walked home later that Couzens struck. He was also filmed in supermarkets buying some of the items he'd use in the kidnap. He drove his young victim more than 80 miles towards the Kent coast, where he raped and then strangled her, dumping her body in this woodland near the town of Ashford. The next day, he's seen buying a petrol can and filling it with the fuel he'd used to burn her body. When police arrested this fellow officer at his Kent home, just a few miles from the murder scene, he denied ever having seen Sarah.
Do you know Sarah? I don't know. For many in policing, this was the ultimate betrayal, but somebody who actually swore an oath to protect the public to commit such an unthinkable act was just astonishing.
How difficult is it for the police now to persuade women that they are taking issues around women's safety seriously?
We've seen initiatives now to almost increase the police actions against violence against women. That needs to be done. This would affect trust that some people have in policing. The actions of one person reflect on the whole organisation. So clearly that needs to be now addressed, and the police service as a whole needs to look at violence against women and treat it as a priority.
The hired car Couzens used to transport Sarah and mobile phone cell site analysis helped detectives pinpoint his movements on the night of the abduction. He concocted a bizarre story that an Eastern European crime gang forced him to kidnap a woman for them as payment for debts he owed them. But he later admitted kidnap and murder. The area around Clapham Common, where Sarah was last seen, became the focus for public grief and demands that the authorities should do far more to improve women's safety.
It's very sad for me to see women in their 20s who are holding signs saying that they feel unsafe walking the streets at night in 2021.
Essentially, all women feel that could be me, whatever age of woman, from a young woman to an older woman. And I think we all feel we should feel safer.
This has been an enormously difficult time for the Metropolitan Police, not just because one of their own was responsible for a young woman's murder, but there was criticism too over the handling of the vigilant protests which broke COVID laws and saw violent confrontations. Scotland Yard's Commissioner Cressida Dick said she and fellow officers felt saddened, angry and devastated by the actions of one of their own. But there are too some awkward questions for this force and for Kent Police, as the Independent Office for Police Complaints examines potential failings to properly investigate allegations of indecency against Wayne Couzens, some dating back to 2015. As Wayne Couzens begins life behind bars, the police watchdog will now have to decide whether there were failings around Couzens' previous alleged offences, and whether an earlier intervention would have made any difference in his offending behaviour, which escalated in the most horrific way, ending in the murder of an innocent young woman.
Thank you there to Mark White. Do apologise, I had some technical glitches there, but we got the video played, at least there. Zach, what did you make of Mark White's a report on this for GB News?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, you know, the history that he has, Charlie, Wayne Couzens, is deeply disturbing. There's been some clear failures in this, Charlie, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm reading up this article here, Charlie, from the BBC, who's talking about Couzens being in a WhatsApp group with 5 police officers who have now been investigated for misconduct. He was also apparently on the parliamentary state doing work for the police as well 5 times across the last year. I mean, can you imagine that, Charlie, in the hands of female MPs, and how dangerous that could have been? Lindsay Hoyle's requested a meeting with the Met Police, I believe, as well. It just definitely raised concern about that. But goodness me, Charlie, there is a total and utter calamitous failure in this. That why was this one not properly vetted? Why was there no alarm bells raised? Why was there failure to identify what was going on? About indecency. How could you let that one go, Charlie? Indecency. Surely that's a police sacking offence, suspension offence already. It doesn't take that long, surely. I mean, come on. You know, we let some predator be in charge of police. Like, how the hell do we associate predators with police? The police should be arresting the predators, not the predators being the police themselves. It's just astonishing, Charlie. It is astonishing that the alarm bells was raised. He used his position of power, and he murdered an innocent woman. An innocent woman in the dark, and used, you know, we know what happened next.
Yes, Zach, I agree. It's a big issue, guys. Please comment down below what you might think about this. Sarah Everard murder. Do you think Wayne Couzens should have been put in prison? Do you think he should spend the rest of his life behind bars? Please let us know. I agree with what Zach said, actually. I do think that Wayne Couzens committed murder. He committed a dangerous crime on Sarah Everard, and he should be facing the full force of law enforcement. We're going to move on now from Sarah Everard all the way over to Cumbre Vieja once again in the Spanish Canary Island of La Palma. It's now 2 weeks ago today since the volcano started erupting. And sadly, unfortunately, to report to you guys this evening, the eruption is sadly intensifying and worsening. There has been a couple of new vents and fissures that have opened up and cracked where the volcano has erupted, which is now causing a stream of lava to spread all the way across La Palma. And Zach, the reactions in La Palma haven't been great at the moment, and apparently I believe the air quality over there is pretty poor.
Yeah, you think climate change, Charlie? Goodness me, this is all just ruin it here. But yeah, there's 2 further cracks below the open, and it's now spewing the lava even more, Charlie. It's now in a more intense phase from what I'm reading now today, Charlie. This volcano, it's much more aggressive, according to the Canary Islands Emergency Response Department. They overnight, I believe the scientists recorded 8 new earthquakes in that area of the 3.5 magnitude. 4 miles was the gas and ash into the air, Charlie. I mean, goodness me, that's just something. 6,000 people have now been evacuated, and lava is now going over the molten rocks, and is now extending into the sea. That is this is a scary development, Charlie. No doubt about it. This is some very scary development, as you can see there, as well. It is very, very bad. I feel sorry for the poor innocent people there, who this is a tourist area, Charlie. You know that so this is a tourist area. This is would be a popular holiday destination for people to go and buy. I don't think people expect to go on holidays just to see lava and smoke fume up in the air. That looked more like a horror. That looked more like a horror apocalypse show than anything, Charlie. But yeah, this is intensified. This is getting worse. We don't know whether we're in the worst of it yet, Charlie. That's the main thing. I mean, look at that image, Charlie. That is something. Look at all that lava spraying all over the sea. It's just incredible. All that lava. It looks like the whole world's burning. It really does. And people can see it from all the way away from this island. Anywhere in the island, it's a horror show. It really is. And look at the distance, Charlie. Look at the distance all the way from this. All ziggy zaggy up here, and that's shocking. The distance and from the satellite, it is stunning, Charlie. It's absolutely stunning. And as you can see, it's gone into the rural, crowded, the areas of the buildings. Oh my word! I mean, this is bad. It is a terrible sight, Charlie. It really is. It's almost like a dragon is unloaded on an island. Might as well give birth to the dragons again, because look, they can just spit out as much fire as that. It's a horror show.
Zach, I have to say, the eruption has intensified even more now. And I saw a video the other day. I'm going to talk about this YouTuber called Bushcraft Bear whilst I'm here very quickly, because he's got a YouTube channel, so please go and check it out. But he has been covering that eruption of the Cumbre Vieja volcano pretty much from when it started. So when it first erupted from the 19th of September to now, he has been giving daily updates of the eruption. And he said over there the other day that he felt an earthquake, like on the southern half of the island, which was like a 3.4 on the Richter scale or something. Then he also mentioned there is this really, like, it was really loud. Like the explosion is like very, like there's like a big bang coming from the volcano. And then also as well, the quality of the air, if you go to like the northern half of the island, is like very poor. They've even been, I mean, Zach, I've even seen some reporters over there who are having to wear like masks. They're having to cover their entire body up. Like they're not even allowed to wear short sleeves. And they've got to cover like their whole body up with like thick clothing and stuff like that because of the toxic gases. Because if the ash lands on the skin, it can irritate it. I mean, surely with the heat and the humidity they have over there, I bet that is extremely uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, Charlie. I mean, imagine if that happened in the summer, Charlie, the temperatures would skyrocketed as it is. It would be like 30 odd degrees over there into the 40s. And then you think of a lava, a volcanic explosion, all the ash and the lava and all that heat that comes out of it. You burn. You feel very horrible in your skin, Charlie. So yeah, it's a big concern. And I feel sorry. It's reported it's quite dangerous, actually, Charlie. Having to go into that situation and thinking they could be damage to their skin, damage to their body. That's the last thing they need when they're reporting.
Yeah, it is. It's not ideal. And I'm just gonna, again for the listeners, I'm just gonna get up another live feed of the eruption of Cumbre Vieja, just to show you guys who are listening live tonight. Just the sheer scale and magnitude of the eruption. I mean, the live feeds, we've got one here from the Sun that has got a live feed of La Palma's eruption. I'm not sure if this is going to be the best video quality, but we'll get it for you now. There's lots of videos. Here it is.
Oh my word. So this is how it's currently as it is at the moment. As you saw there, Charlie, as well, it's going to the sea. And that is, yeah, that's astonishing, Charlie. The way it's just melted like nobody. It's honestly, it's It's a harrowing scene, Charlie. It really is a harrowing scene. And it looks pretty,
It,
you know,
yeah.
we were watching this last week, I think, as well, Charlie. And you think
Mm.
that was bad. This week looks worse. It looks more spectacular than what it was than a week ago. Yeah. I don't think anyone will want to be there at the moment.
No. Just look at this. I mean, the eruption is, you can literally see that all these areas here, they're like fissures that have opened up. It's the volcano now. I mean, just look at that compared to last week. That is the eruption of lava spewing out of a volcano. It is honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong, photography wise, that would be pretty incredible photographs. But if you're a citizen on La Palma right now, that is a threat to public health because,
Yeah.
as I've said earlier, if you inhale that gas, you could it could be fatal for you. And the eruption is still ongoing, guys. As I said, unfortunately, as I said last week, it could have a big problem on air travel. I think the airport, Zach, is still closed, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not surprised the airport's closed because I don't think they would want people traveling in and out of the country with aeroplanes, all the thick smoke that goes in the air. That's a danger to airplanes, Charlie, no doubt about it, and to the safety of passengers on airplanes who fly by it. That's a very, very extreme situation.
It is, Zach, and I think what we've got to understand as well is that this is a eruption of the volcano. It's still ongoing at the moment, and yeah, we'll keep you updated with that over the next week, and we'll tell you guys exactly how this is, whether the eruption is going to get worse or better. We don't know, but it looks like it's not going to end anytime soon, and it could be earthquakes as well. Do not forget, guys, that these volcanic eruptions can be caused by earthquakes. So we'll keep you updated on the eruption. But now we're going to move on to the final part of the hot headlines before we move on to another segment of this show. I want to chat now about a couple of party conferences that were on last week. We had the Labour Party conference, and I think today we had the launch of the Conservative Tory Party conference, along with the Reform UK conference. Now, Zach, what did you make of the party conferences that took place last week, especially Labour and Conservative?
Yeah, Labour had their conference last week. It was a 5-day marathon of party conferences, of inner party battles, passionate speeches, and on Wednesday, Keir Starmer did his first in-person maiden conference speech. With, if you want to have a bonus effect, of added heckling from far left supporters, or what should we say, critics of the party. He managed to do with the heckles quite well, actually. It was perhaps the longest speech, I believe, of a Labour Party leader since, I think it was Ed Miliband in 2014. Ed Miliband obviously still on the front bench of the Labour Party these days. I'm sure he'll be watching that speech with much interest. There's a few policies announced in there, Charlie, as well, surprised by the Labour Party. One thing that was mentioned, I think, as well, was that there was support. You'd get a mental health supporter within a month. Labour would focus on hiring teachers, increase sentences for rape victims as well. There's just a few of those policies as well. They would scrap business rates. That's very interesting, Charlie. Very interesting policy coming out there. Labour, it sounds a bit, this sort of speech going back to the Tony Blair days. Even Keir Starmer kind of referenced that as well. He mentioned education. I don't need 3 words for it, which is obviously a reference to Tony Blair's education sort of mantra. So this is more of a Tony Blair style speech. It's a long way, Charlie, from what was, a year or 2 ago, where, it was much the Jeremy Corbyn, type of speeches of left-wing socialist policies. It sounds like a long way away from that sort of thing. There was a bit of drama throughout the week, as I said, Charlie, the heckling as well from a few left-wing supporters. One of the supporters who did heckling was a person from Big Brother season 8, Charlie, would you believe it or not? He used to stand for George Galloway's old party at the time. Make that what you will. There was also the resignation of Andy McDonald, the shadow work and employment secretary, because he was told to be briefed against supporting a £15 minimum wage. So yeah, and there was also the Keir Starmer didn't necessarily get his way on the Saturday, I believe, as well, when he tried to push through his own basically leadership reforms, leadership election reforms of the Electoral College, where instead of all being voted on by the members, it would be contributed to the MPs, the members, and the trade unions. That was scrapped last minute because he didn't get the support of the unions, and doesn't appear there was enough support anyway. But it looks like he's going to bring it across the line. So yeah, been a busy week for Keir Starmer, and today it was a Conservative Party conference that kicked off today. Boris Johnson's Andrew Marr, I have to say, with a rather difficult interview from Andrew Marr, especially.
Was it like a car crash or something? Boris Johnson seemed very confused on some of the questions, especially the tax hike.
People did call it car crash. One bit was when Marr showed this graph showing the effects of of the national insurance hike, and it showed that a landlord would be paying £0, yet a hospital nurse with the national insurance hike would be £123 increase in national insurance compared to a landlord with £0. That was a car crash. Boris Johnson defended that, and basically, he said, well, there's other taxes and workers as well. These rich people. There was also the moment where he couldn't even understand how the living wage works as well, Charlie, which is quite interesting. Marr puts up in his claim that if you include inflation, the living wage and real wages are actually dropped, steadied, gone down, which Boris Johnson blustered and sort of defended the way also the minimum wage is going up, sort of thing. But yeah, I have to say, Charlie, it was a very difficult interview and at times a bit of a sloppy doppy for the Prime Minister. It certainly wasn't his finest interview. Let's just say that.
Well, Zach, I'm now going to play for you some highlights of the Boris Johnson Andrew Marr interview on this show tonight. I just want to have the listeners. I just want to know if the listeners are going to get a bit of a connection here about Christmas, because he was asked a question on this interview about Christmas, and Andrew Marr grills him about potentially whether Christmas this year could be affected. Have a listen to this.
These problems, these delays could go on until Christmas. I think what you'll see is, I think Rishi's writing very well, but what you're seeing is that depends how you interpret what he's saying. If you they're going to go on until Christmas. Well, what you'll certainly see is the stresses and strains caused in a UK economy that is now the fastest growing in the G7. When people voted for change in 2016, or when people voted for change again in 2019, as they did, they voted for the end of a broken model of the UK economy that relied on low wages and low skill and chronic low productivity. And we're moving away from that. We've known about shortages in road haulage for long before then. They've been a chronic feature of the way in which the road haulage industry has worked. And what needs to happen now is that people need to be decently paid. The great hecatomb of pigs that you describe has actually not yet taken place. Let's see what happens. What we can't do is, in all these sectors, simply go back to the tired, failed old model, reach for the lever called uncontrolled immigration, get people in low wages, and get people in low wages, and that's part of the plan. Get people at low wages, and yes, so there will be a period of adjustment, but that is, I think, what we need to see.
Thank you there to Boris Johnson and Andrew Marr. I have to say that interview certainly was an interesting one from the view of the eyes of the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson there, heckled by Andrew Marr on a question to do with food shortages, because I don't really think there's going to be a lot of issues. I think there's going to certainly be a lot of issues come Christmas if people don't get their turkeys in. So, yes, Zach, what did you make of the interview in general?
Yeah, as I said, Charlie, it was a bit car crash. The Prime Minister justified trying to say to these companies with lorry drivers and everything, increase your wages, stop the primary recognition of low of migration, because what Prime Minister says is the reason why I've got low wages is mass migration. Bit of a dog whistle. It might, whether that's true or not, I can kind of figure it out. But this pandemic has caused lorry driver issues, Charlie, if you think about it, because many of the migrant workers that we have, Charlie, obviously because of the pandemic, have gone back to where they work originally from in terms of lorry driver. They don't want to be going driving around and stuff like that. So when production restarts again, Charlie, they sort of say no. And once people start saying no, and the migration and most of the migration has gone back, you have a problem. Now, you could say the ending of free movement as well, with all this Brexit, is part of the problem, and it may well be, but it's causing these huge problems like the fuel shortages, Charlie. We may have run out of turkeys and sausages so that you can't have your bangers and mash for Christmas. That's quite something in 2021. I mean, the whole world is mocking us. I mean, America's mocking us to say, why is this happening here? I think part of Europe is mocking us as well, Charlie. Yeah, we're just being mocked, Charlie. This is extraordinary in 2021 that we'll basically talk about not having your turkeys and your sausages and for Christmas, and it's a joke, Charlie. We are a joke on the world stage. We really are. Whatever you think of what's happening, we are a joke on the world stage. Honestly, when we're getting mocked for not having turkeys, and then you have people fighting at fuel stations. God help me, Charlie. I've got to go to a fuel station tomorrow because I've got to do my weekly shopping. God help me if I've got to, two weekly shopping. God help me if we can't get fuel in our car because all these queuing at the
we're going to be chatting about that in a minute, actually, the fuel stations.
Yeah. Brought in as well. So, goodness me, we might see some army men in the morning tomorrow. I mean, goodness, that'd be quite something. But yeah, this pandemic has caused some problems. Brexit might have caused some problems as well. But there is a global shortage. There's no denying about that. But it feels like we're feeling the effects most. And the fact is that the situation may be improving in terms of the fuel wise. The army still being brought in. It doesn't strike as over, does it?
No, it is interesting. I do apologise that this segment has overran a lot, but we've still got a lot to cram in, guys. We're going to chat about the HGV driver shortage in a minute in the spotlight. On that segment this week. But we're going to move on now from the hot headlines to sports round because I want to talk quickly about Formula One with some briefly, just some quick news before next weekend's Turkish Grand Prix, that the Losail International Circuit has been confirmed for the Qatar Grand Prix between, I think, the 19th and the 21st of November. Zach, any thoughts on this circuit?
Yes, this is a circuit that is used in MotoGP every year, Charlie. MotoGP has gone to this
since 2004.
As the opening race of the MotoGP season as well, Charlie. But they're going to Qatar. It's also not only going to be this year they're going to go to Qatar. In 2023, they've signed a 10-year deal to go to Qatar. Whether they're going to go to the Losail International Circuit or not, it's going to be we don't know. But this is going to be, many people have described it as quite a tricky circuit to overtake. It might be tight, might be tricky. There has been some criticism around it as well, Charlie, about the last races being Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, with their records of human rights. It's not actually the most exciting one, but it will look quite good under lights. Let's just say that, Charlie. It will look good quite under the lights because I imagine this is probably going to be a night race. We don't know officially yet. We know Saudi's going to be a night race, and we know Abu Dhabi's going to be a night race, but it's an interesting circuit. It will be very tight. It will be tricky to overtake. But it'll look interesting with Formula One cars on the circuit. It's a good replacement for Australia. Obviously, this was due to be the Australian Grand Prix, Charlie, this race, but obviously they got rid of, because of the travel restriction. It was going to be lifted soon in Australia, Charlie, would you believe it or not? But because of the travel restrictions, they've basically said, this is the race to replace it. And this is going to be a permanent race from 2023 as well. We've also got a date for Miami, Charlie, I believe, as well. For that going to be as well. So that is heading for May the 8th, Charlie, the 6th to the 8th for Miami on that one, which is, really interesting circuit.
There'll
Miami
probably
is
be a
on-
2-week break, I reckon, for the Spanish Grand Prix and the Monaco Grand Prix, because that's going down to a 3-day weekend. So I think there's going to be a week between those two races from Spain and Monaco.
Yes, probably. And as you said, Charlie, one of the rumours coming out at the moment is that Monaco is going back to a 3-day weekend on the Friday to Sunday, and in a very long tradition of having a Thursday practice and no action on the Friday. Wow, tradition breaking, Charlie. Would you believe it? That's why have they done that? That's quite interesting. No more Thursday practice sessions for Monaco is quite interesting, and it's going to feel a bit strange. Odd, you think when we get to Monaco next year, thinking, "Hang on, it's Thursday today. Oh, it's supposed to be trying to practice. Oh, wait, no, it's on the Friday. Hang on, I thought it was Monaco. No, it's not happening anymore." So yeah,
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit weird.
It's going to be interesting. So, yes, that's all the Formula One news this week. I want to turn my attention now to NASCAR. Just before we do, though, IndyCar last week. Congratulations to Alex Palou for winning his maiden title last week. Congratulations. Round of applause for him. Beating home Joseph Newgarden in the end to claim the title. But on the subject of NASCAR, Zach, season looking going into the closing stages now. We head today to, I believe, God, I forgot where the circuit was today. No, we are heading to Talladega, for the Yellowwood 500. We did visit Talladega early in the year for the Geico 500. You may remember Joey Logano's big flip in that race. But
Yeah.
Zach, this time round, I believe the race, I'm not sure if it's on at the moment, it's throwing up a bit of surprising.
Yeah, Charlie, I was going to say the race would have started, but it looks like we're going to go to a rain delay, unfortunately, because I'm afraid it is raining. If we can't get it in today, it'll probably go to tomorrow, but that's not good news, unfortunately, Charlie. There is a rain at the circuit. It looks like there's a bit of a shower going on at the moment. So it looks like there is going to be a delay to the race. If they can't finish today, then they're certainly going to go tomorrow. But yeah, that's not a good sign, is it, Charlie? They're all going to go. They're going to the pits. I'm just watching a live camera here. It looks like they're going to the pit lane. Let me tell you. Let me get up. Try and find the grid. There we go. Let me try and find the grid for today's race, Charlie, because this is very important.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin won last week in South Point at Las Vegas.
And he is on the pole today. I believe he's on the pole today. Yeah. Yes, he is. He's on the pole today. Ahead of Kyle Busch. Chase Elliott third, Blaney fourth, Larson fifth, Truex Jr. sixth, seventh Kowalski, eighth Logano, ninth Harvick, 10th with William Byron, Charlie. Let me remind you of the point standings at the moment, because I believe we're in the second, the third race for this round, actually, Charlie. And it is, let me get it up if it loads. Here we go. It is Hamlin, who is leading Haynes against Larson, Busch, Truex Jr., Blaney, Chase Elliott, Logano, Brad Keselowski. They are in the top 8. And there's only 8 positions to get into. So the rest of William Byron and Kevin Harvick really need to have a good result today to get into, to have a chance of getting in. And so does Alex Bowman. 3,082 points for Hamlin. He's already through to the next round. It is Larson as well. Yeah, so there needs to be good results for William Byron and Kevin Harvick to make sure they get through as well. But because this is the second, the third round of the playoff, and they need good results today, Charlie. They really do.
I'm not sure this is the last round of the round of 12. I think round of 8 is next, I think. And next week we actually go to the Bank of America Roval 400, believe it or not, taking place, and other than Charlotte Motor Speedway, on the road course, not the Speedway circuit, the road course. So it's going to be interesting. I do like Charlotte Roval, actually. I think it's a very interesting track. It's a unique circuit for a NASCAR event, with it being, you've got an infield section, you've got the parts of the oval circuit being used. So it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see how that race gets on. But that's all the sport action this week. Speaking of which, actually, no, we're going to finish off with a London Marathon whilst we're here today. I haven't watched the event, sadly, but I can tell you the London Marathon results for 2021. Apparently 80,000 participants took part, but it was Cisse Lema who won the London Marathon today. Congratulations to him for winning. But it tracks 80,000 participants, and also anyone who took part in London Marathon. If you dressed up in a fancy costume today, please send us your pictures in. I'd love to see them. Zach, what did you make of the London Marathon this year?
Yeah, it was not only that, Charlie. There's obviously as well. It was real. There was a virtual event as well. I believe when I was going around the road from where I live today, and I was doing my walk, Charlie, there was a runner, I believe, as well. There was someone running around. I don't know whether they were doing it for that, but it looked like they had the number and the sort of the uniform that you sort of wear for a London Marathon. So I believe they were doing it virtually as well. So whoever that person was, well done. Yeah, that was certainly lovely as well. Oh my goodness me, there's 106 results here. There's many results here that I cannot go through, but congratulations to all those that have taken part, because there's a lot of money that's going to be raised out of this child. There's a lot of money, and it's going to go to charities as well, to help lives and improve that sort of thing. So well done to everyone who took part in that. It's a brilliant thing today.
Yeah, please, honestly, guys, well done. And whoever took part in the fancy dress, I've seen pictures of people like coming up with like Alexandra Palace costumes on. Someone a couple of years ago, I think, dressed up as SpongeBob SquarePants. Another person wore, I think, a pair of someone also had like a McDonald's fries box on their body as well. Oh, I mean, the costumes are amazing. I can honestly, in fact, I'm actually, whilst I'm here, I'm actually just going to show you some of the pictures of London Marathon funny costumes, because there are so many great costumes that people have taken part in. And I just really want to show you guys, because I think it's hilarious comedy, I think, for you. But just have a look at some of these funny costumes here that took part in the marathon. I mean, we've got one here. This is someone dressed up as an elephant. We've got
that's from 19, yeah, but that's quite good actually.
We've got SpongeBob SquarePants. Yes. We've got that thing there. I'm not sure where that's from.
No, I don't know. That's
someone dressed up as Big Ben.
That was obviously Ben. That was right. Someone called Ben. That was dressing as Big Ben.
We've got some more pictures there. I'm not sure who that person is. Someone from a police force. We've got lots of costumes here. Some of them are. Oh, look, we've got someone from Bananas in Pajamas running down the course, and that one of a T-Rex. Oh my God! Wow. I won't show any more, because I know some of them are probably a little bit too inappropriate for this show. But yeah, the costumes were amazing, guys. Whoever sent those pictures, well done, because the costumes are amazing. That's what we're going to be getting at the London Marathon. It's back again next year. Not sure the date, but we'll keep you updated on all the latest news from the London Marathon regarding that. But moving on now to In the Spotlight. This is our next segment of the show. I'm going to be talking this week on In the Spotlight about a couple of things. We're going to start off with the HGV shortage now. Now, it's been confirmed from next week the army are going to be brought in to help resolve the HGV crisis. Now, I believe, by what I'm hearing, there is going to be something like 250 army office troops that are going to be deployed to deal with these HGVs. But yet we've got over 8,000 petrol stations in this country. So, Zach, what do you think is going to be happening next week with this crisis? Do you think the army are going to have a mammoth job on their hands to help resolve the issue at Britain's fuel stations?
Oh, I think the army in the first place, Charlie, as I said, actually having to bring in fuel is quite something, because once we had that news of I think it's the BP, that there was a shortage of fuel there, and we started going along, and then we started queuing and in our thousands to the petrol station and waiting an hour for fuel. But yeah, they're gonna have a mammoth job. It's something that should not even be happening in the first place, Charlie. Let's just say that it shouldn't even be happening in the first place. No way. They should. In 2021 Britain, this should be happening. It's an embarrassment. It really is an embarrassment. It's unbelievable. As I said, Charlie, I've got to go and get fuel tomorrow. Well, hopefully, if we can get fuel, because God Almighty, if we don't, then this will be embarrassing. It really would be. So yeah, it's it just proves that if the army's been brought in, there is still a problem with fuel. I mean, even the situation has got better this week, the last couple of days. That's a problem because if you bring in the army, you know you've still got issues.
I know, Zach, and to be honest with you, I mean, I've passed my driving test now, only just.
Congratulations.
As you would know. Thank you, Google this. Thank you for everyone who was sending comments in. But yes, I've got to start using Britain's fuel stations properly soon. And oh my God, I mean, having to be queuing up a couple of weeks, over a week ago now, in a massive queue. Like, I was in Wickford coming home, and there was this big Sainsbury's garage that had was people queuing up for fuel and the petrol in the Sainsbury's garage. I was like, I've just got to get home. This is causing people to miss out on work. Key workers like the NHS staff, people like delivery drivers who are still stuck in these jams. They need priority to get fuel. We've got to do something. And I think people should stop panicking and just go about their daily lives as normal. Buy fuel as if they need to. Don't ram our stations, because I think the crisis now is actually getting worse in this country, especially when you look at, I think parts of easing off, I think up north, but in the south and east, Zach, I mean, I think the situation is no longer improving.
Yeah, certain areas are sort of getting better. Some areas are, there's certain areas that probably don't have it. Like, the north, the south are probably, the north probably is better off. The south is probably worse off because the south is a more populated area than you say the north. But yeah, there is a big problem still in some areas, and I just hope I don't get caught up a bit tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. Please, guys, if you're travelling out on the roads this week, please listen to your local radio stations. I encourage you to listen to them and listen to the travel updates, even on the mainstream news as well. Just to basically, if you're travelling home from work or travelling home from wherever, just to listen out to the travel news, because there could be some delays on the roads, especially if petrol stations become full. Because trust me, I had to do one the other day, and there were some petrol stations where people were diving in for fuel and caused massive tailbacks of traffic on the road. So please be aware, guys. We'll keep you updated on all that news. Now, to the second part of In the Spotlight this week, I want to chat about Insulate Britain once again, because they've been out, Zach, once again in... Can I just call these guys fascists whilst we're here? Because I feel like this is a fascist organisation. People going around like being dictators. They've obviously got this idea of wokeness, this wokeness attitude of blocking the roads. And they were out the other day, I believe in Thurrock at the M25 at junction 30, I think it was. Junction 29, junction 30 at Thurrock. Actually barricading the slip road. I mean, so this is getting... These people are just... Aren't they crazy?
Yeah. I hope you got to college that day.
Luckily on the train, not on the road, luckily.
Yeah, on the train, thankfully, not on the road. But yeah, the Thurrock, the M25, they've expanded it recently. They've gone to Heathrow Airport to get, to sort of bypass the injunction against him where they would get 2 years in jail up to, they were caught blocking. They're going to other areas as well. I know there's going to be some sort of announcement at the Tory Party conference on increased police powers, I believe, because of these protests. But yeah, whether you can have a debate on whether their commitments are realistic, but there's one common thing that I agree on: they're blocking the roads. It's just wrong. There's innocent motorists that are trying to get to work, trying to drive about, and they're just being blocked by numpties, really, that are putting the public off. And it's from the 3rd, 4th week in a row, Charlie, and it's really not good.
Oh, I can't believe it. It's just... It's completely it baffles me why these buffoons are still out on the road, because at time of recording this now, I think the protests have calmed down a bit, but they've been going out during the week to disrupt people's lives, to stop people going to work. I just think it's complete madness, and surely they should be arrested. I don't care. I mean, the police. I feel like the police are re-releasing these people, so they're going out protesting again. It's just madness. I can't take it. Please comment down below, guys. I'd like to hear your opinion. Is Insulate Britain disrupting people's lives, and are they putting themselves in the firing line? Please comment down below. This is the Charlie Tolhurst Show live on Facebook and YouTube. Now moving on, guys, to my good news. I'm going to change it up now to talk about some more positive news. This week's good news story is actually the Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. I'm going to go back to America now because the park, the resort's celebrating 50 years now. 2 new fireworks shows have debuted over in the Magic Kingdom Epcot. One is called Disney Enchantment. The other is called Harmonious, which is replacing Illumination's Reflections of Earth. This show looks stunning, and I will just show you guys right now a little article which was sent directly from the Walt Disney World's say YouTube page. I just want to show you guys what I mean by this, because Disney have actually sent a live stream of the fireworks. We're on YouTube, by the way, but this is the scene of Epcot's new fireworks show, and I just want to say, guys, that Disney have done a great job. Now, Zach, I've watched these shows on YouTube, and they look pretty amazing. You've got people might have different views. What do you make of the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World? Do you think this is a step in the right direction for this resort?
Yeah, it's a special occasion, Charlie. I'm not always, a fan of Disney films or anything like that, but what they put on a firework display, Charlie. When I've ever watched it, well, I had a thing for, when I was a bit younger, even though I didn't like fireworks, and I probably still don't. I always used to watch an old video from someone who posted on YouTube, who probably watches firework displays and everything like that, and that sort of thing. And they're whatever the fireworks displays at Walt Disney World do are pretty stunning. They're really good. They're very creative. They're very cool. And they're very good. I really enjoy them. And look at that. That's stunning, Charlie. That is stunning. The distance that you can see it from like the famous Walt Disney Tower is pretty good.
It is. Just look at the pictures here. It's stunning, harmonious as well. I mean, wow. Yeah. You just see the pictures there. I'm actually now, if we've got some time, I might actually just get a little section of some of these shows whilst we're here. So this is basically a little clip of Harmonious over at Epcot. This is a little sneak peek of the show at Florida. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just a clip here of some of the footage from Harmonious that is coming out right now for you. Do apologise that we have an advert on at the moment, but we're going to get to that right now.
I'm on all the time.
Here's the show.
Here you go.
Oh, we do have some buffering issues. We'll take you on a bit forward now, so all the listeners can see exactly what I'm on about. Here it is.
Wow. Nice. It starts off.
Yeah.
I get the idea of it. I know it's buffering a little bit, but I get the idea of it, Charlie. You start off with like that powerful water thing, and then obviously it leads into the fireworks. And I've seen those sort of beginnings before. They're pretty. Someone come with a creative idea. Let's start off with the water display idea. Very interesting.
Yeah, I do apologise. The internet on there is not great. Does look stunning, though, I have to be honest with you.
It does. We get a better view now, not from a fan cam. I mean, yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That's harmonious.
It reminds
you
me
guys.
of the Sydney fireworks thing. It really does. When you have New Year's fireworks every year, and you have it in Sydney and all that sort of thing. It reminds me of them. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It's a really interesting thing. Like, I actually think that this song is really good. Like, I just like it. And also we've got a little sneak peek of Disney's Enchantment whilst we're here. This is the theme song, You Are the Magic, which is the brand new show replacing Happily Ever After. And I have to say, this show does look pretty stunning, though. I will say Harmonious is better if I'm taking a judgment on it, just because this is more of an original show. This is some clips from from Enchantment now, from Cinderella Castle. This is the theme song now that's playing, guys. So if you ever listen to this show on YouTube, you'll see basically the original song playing from the show. It's quite stunning, I have to be honest with you.
Pretty good. Oh, the light colour there.
That's all pyrotechnics on the castle for all the listeners out there.
And then the magical display there. I mean, look, you can see there they put all the light projectors in there.
Mm. Well, guys, you can listen to the whole show live on YouTube there. And that is my good news segment this week. We'll be doing it all again next week. So please, guys, we'll comment down all the news we've got for you next week. But I want to touch on the final segment of the show now, which is Charlie Asks. As the question has popped up right now, that's my Charlie Asks question this week. Does London need a modernisation? An interesting question, because London is one of the biggest economies in Europe. And it's certainly one of the biggest economies in the world, actually, London. Because obviously London is the capital of England, the capital of the United Kingdom, if you're turning it here. And we rely a lot in London of transport, of entertainment, hospitality, a lot of things. But Zach, I'm going to ask you a question here. Do you think London does need a modernisation? And what areas do you think London needs to be improved on if you were the mayor there?
Well, London is, I suppose, in some ways, getting modernised already. I mean, you have diverse, in terms of population, the city's quite diverse. It's still getting quite more diverse as well. Does it need modernisation? I'm not sure, really. I'm not really sure. Are we in terms of, if we're talking about houses, then yeah, I mean, there's definitely housing problem in sort of that area in terms that you could, sort of have there, but and you could build more homes. You could put, affordable homes that you needed. There's sort of an agreement there with the Mayor of London and the sort of local government there to get, to sort of get more houses. So in terms of housing, yes, obviously our roads and infrastructure and everything, it's pretty good already as it is. So yeah, I think in terms of the actual thing, it's pretty modern. I don't see why we need to modernise it in that sense in terms of looks. I suppose in infrastructure in some areas like the roads or bridges, yes. I think the rest of it's fine.
Yeah, Zach, because I'm going to play for you a video now about London and about something about the capital. And one of these videos asks about in need of modernisation, because London as well is a very important city, and we rely a lot in London of attractions, of everything. And London is a very important place because London is the key definition of the United Kingdom. It's a big thing, There's a lot of like big attractions in London, and we rely a lot on them to keep our economy going. So I'm just going to play for you a quick video of some of the best things to do in London. So here comes some top 10 London attractions that I think some of the listeners might find very interesting. Indeed.
London is home to many amazing attractions, but one of the official top 10 most popular. It's time to take a look from a different perspective. Where can you get up close and personal with celebrities and royalty? At number 10, it's the original Madame Tussauds. More than 250 precise measurements are taken to accurately create a wax figure. Fancy a journey to the center of time and space? At number 9, the Royal Museum's Greenwich, a group of 3 attractions in a World Heritage Site. Steer a ship into port at the National Maritime Museum. Explore the beautiful Queen's House, backdrop to numerous feature films. Climb aboard the Cutty Sark, the last surviving tea clipper ship. Hop from one hemisphere to the other over the Prime Meridian at the Royal Observatory, Greenwich. Have you seen the dazzling crown jewels? The mighty Tower of London is at number 8. Established in 1066 to keep hostile forces at bay, you can stand on the spot where Anne Boleyn, one of Henry VIII's 6 wives, lost her head. Do you know where you can see Da Vinci's notebook and Mick Jagger's jumpsuit? The Victoria and Albert Museum is at number 7. Immerse yourself in over 3,000 years of fashion, art and design. From sculptures to jewelry, textiles to photographs. Prepare to be inspired. Now it's time to travel back in time and peer into the future. At number 6, the Science Museum. From steam trains to space rockets and everything in between, embark on an historic journey charting the world's greatest ever inventions. Where can you enjoy amazing city views, stretching 25 miles in every direction? At number 5 is the London Eye. On average, the London Eye receives more visitors per year than the Taj Mahal and the Great Pyramids. Which art gallery used to power the city? Tate Modern is at number 4. From Damien Hirst to Rothko, prepare yourself for contemporary art on a truly spectacular scale. Next up is a place where you can see 70 million specimens from the microscopic to the mammoth. The Natural History Museum is at number 3. Explore the wonders of nature in one of London's finest museum buildings. Come face to face with animals from the past and the present. And watch out for the dinosaurs. Where can you see masterpieces by Van Gogh, Turner, Michelangelo and Rembrandt for free? At number 2, the National Gallery. Sitting proudly on Trafalgar Square, this landmark attraction houses over 2,300 of the world's finest paintings. So, what's in the top spot? An amazing destination documenting over 2 million years of human history. At number 1, it has to be the one and only British Museum. The museum tells the story of human culture from its beginnings to the present day, including world-famous objects such as the Parthenon sculptures and the Rosetta Stone.
Thank you there to Visit London there for giving us a little overall tour guide of the capital. But Zach, the main question is, as they've mentioned with all these venues like the British Museum, the Natural History Museum, also like the Tower of London, which was originally built by William the Conqueror after he won the Battle of Hastings. These venues are historic. But the question is, though, does these venues like need a modernisation slightly to keep them preserved?
Well, yeah, you need to obviously keep adding features like the British Museum. You obviously need to keep adding. You need to keep it up to date at this time of the. I mean, I think that I'm not been in much of them, but I think they're fairly modern as it is. By the way, that was a really nice tour guide. I sort of, it's like being there already, and I feel like I'm listening to your typical radio advert and stuff like that. Oh, here's an announcement. Oh, let's go to this and then this. Yeah, it was pretty good. I felt like I was being. It felt like watching it on an old school television, where you get in these random shots. I don't know what I can't remember what it reminds me of. Does it remind me of watching big TV or something like that? Probably not, but I liked it. I loved that advert. That got me. I could just relax, sit there and just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of these venues that are old, like that could do with updates. The Tower of London is a historic venue, needs updating. You've got, I don't know, St Paul's Cathedral, which is a very popular church. Lots of worship takes place there. You've also got Piccadilly Circus, the Palladium, hosts like Britain's Got Talent, comedy shows like Live at the Apollo. There's loads of venues. The thing that I want to talk about with this, and I'm going to give my opinion here, is I do think London needs a modernisation in some areas. And you look at like some of the West End area of London, like where the nightlife is, it looks a bit old. And I really think they should have like nice modern restaurants there and nice modern outlets to give London more of a modern edge. Like you look at a city, for example, like I don't know, think of a modern city around the world, maybe somewhere like, I don't know, America, maybe somewhere like New York, or potentially like the Empire State Building that's got like these modern ceilings inside. And you could give like some of these venues like new ceilings, and maybe give somewhere like the Tower of London new ceilings or stuff like that. Like make sure you're preserving the venues. But another thing as well that London does need a modernisation on is transport, Zach, because this is one of the biggest things with London. We always have black cabs. The London black cab, the Ford Crown Victoria always like picks people up. But the move to electric power for them is big, isn't it? Especially with the world certainly going electric very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our future's going to be electric no matter what. Whatever happens, they're going to be an electric future some sort, because obviously the ban of petrol, diesel, or sails, everyone's going to move to a modern car eventually. And there's going to have to be modern features to clean energy, efficiency, and all that sort of thing. So there's going to be modernising in that sort. We're already modernising. Let's see if City can adapt to that as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting. Like when Boris Johnson was Mayor of London, he updated the AEC Route Master buses as well. You see all these like brand new AEC Route Master buses. They look really good. They're all like really updated. I think the final question of the show, Zach, tonight is London definitely in need of a modernisation? What areas of London do you think need to be improved?
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I had travel around London before. I'm not sure which. I've not focused on what needs to be modernised. I've just looked at the views. So I'm not sure on that one particularly. There could be certain areas you've identified some good points there, Charlie. Like some of the West End stuff probably needs a bit more modernisation, look a bit more cool. America's amazing. The counter argument on that could be, it might need to keep its classic looks because it's ironic, got history, it's culture, and everything like that. So it might need to stay like that, but. I'm not sure mine, but I kind of understand. I will go with some of your points that you made there, Charlie. I mean, you've made some pretty good points.
What about my final one? Is what about Parliament? Parliament attracts visitors. Westminster Abbey, Westminster Hall, the House of Commons Chamber, the House of Lords, Portcullis's house. What do you make of them? Are they like well kept? Are they or do you think they need modernising?
Yeah, there was a restoration project they're supposed to be doing, which apparently cost 10 to 20 billion pounds, which I believe is not happening now. I mean, that's quite bad because if you think about it, Charlie, the restoration department is important to keep Parliament safe and protect from severe problems, health problems, safety problems, security problems, and all that sort of thing. They're sort of things that are needed. And yet the cost of that, because they keep delaying,
Mm.
is too much. And, you know, that's not good enough. That's really not good.
It's like what we're seeing the delays as well of London potentially getting HS2. That was going to be developed and then that got abandoned. So, yeah, we could see new rail links being built in London in a few years' time. I don't know. But, guys, please comment down below. What would you hear? What would you like to improve in London? Do you think London needs modernisation? Should there be new trains, new buses, new venues, or just in general overhauls of classics? Please let me know down below. But, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this week's edition of the Charlie Tolhurst Show. I'll be back again next week, providing you lots more great news coverage. And yes, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Take care, and I hope you get a great night's sleep and enjoy the week ahead. Take care, everyone. See you later.